Okay, well, Kathleen Edwards, welcome to the First Cut. It's great to have you with us here at WFPK. Um,
Thanks for
and yeah, your new album's called Total Freedom. We've been playing a couple of songs from that, most recently Hard on Everyone. That's such a great tune. We're going to jump into our First Cut questions here in just a moment, but I just want to do a little quick check-in. How are you doing during the pandemic and everything that's going on?
I'm doing okay. Last week I didn't feel great. I felt really down about everything. And, I think everyone probably has those days or those weeks where they feel like, is this going to ever end? And everyone feels pretty uncomfortable. And I've had to do a lot of things during this time to sort of sidestep and just keep going like everyone else. And those things sometimes are really outside of my wheelhouse, technology based things. And so that part feels really awful, but generally I have to say, I have a coffee shop that's open and there's work to be done, and I just try and focus on that until I can actually play a show again one day.
So you own a coffee shop?
I do. I live in Ottawa, Canada, and a few years ago I opened a coffee shop so I could have something else to do besides touring all the time. And so we were closed for a little while at the beginning of the pandemic when a lot of things were shut down, and then I was able to reopen. And the nice thing is that I kind of have one of the community-based businesses in my small town, and I think it's been a lifeline for a lot of people. And then also, it's been a lifeline for me because I feel like I lost my job overnight, and I spent 3 years making a record, and it just felt like it was almost like my existence sort of like a lot of people I can relate to this. They kind of feel like their whole purpose has been taken away from them, and to have a coffee shop to sort of focus my energy on and just kind of be there instead has helped soften the blow of not being able to actually play shows and see people and connect with people through music.
Do you ever play at your own coffee shop?
Well, when I first opened, I had a sort of a mantra, which was like, no open mic. Thank you very much. Because I was sort of so sick of being in music venues. I certainly didn't want to open one. But I did actually play on the day my record came out. I played there and web streamed it. And that was sort of a nice, strange, coming full circle moment.
What's the name of your coffee shop?
It's called Quitters Coffee. I quit music and opened a coffee shop.
Well, all right. Well, let's get into the first cut questions. And the first question is, what was the first record you fell in love with?
Into the Great Wide Open by Tom Petty. It was a gift at Christmas from my brother. And I lived in Korea when I was during my very formative years of 13, 14, 15. And my brother was 2 years older than me. He had all of the good music. He was those many years ahead of me that he kind of knew what was going on. And he is responsible for my love affair with Tom Petty.
That's, probably the case for a lot of us. Our older siblings, turned us on to so much music. What was the first song you learned on an instrument?
Well, I played violin from when I was about 5 years old. And so Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star was the Suzuki Method 101. And so that was the first song I ever played.
Do you ever pick up the fiddle now?
I play it live, and that's been some time now. So I haven't picked it up recently, but I was actually thinking that if COVID continues where we're kind of removed from being able to do things, I might actually get all my old Bach sonatas out and actually maybe get my violin out and commit to practicing an hour a day and see how much progress I can make and see how good I can get. I mean, I was a very qualified violinist when I was 18 years old, and it'd be interesting to see how far back to that point I can get if I practiced.
Did you go to school for violin at all? I mean, did that lead you into college or?
No, I studied privately, but my mom was a music teacher. And then I studied privately with a really exceptional musician here, violinist here in Ottawa. And I did, my exams and theory and competed in the Kiwanis Music Festival every year. I played in a youth orchestra. So I was really involved in classical music in my town. But then, I was also sent to summer camp. So I was exposed to the dark side of rock and roll songs, campfire songs. And it kind of took me in another direction.
Well, I'm a former camper too, and camp counselor and all that. So now I have to know, what was this camp?
It's called Wanapate. It's in Temagami, Ontario, which is a mouthful. And it was one of these amazing canoe camps. It's still going, where a lot of the campers, basically show up, and that's the cleanest they are for the following month, big dining hall and long canoe trips with not a lot of fresh food during your canoe trip, and you get as dirty as you can possibly be. And I'm still friends with some of those people. They're some of the most sort of lifelong connections you have, and most important connections you have throughout your life. So yeah, that's my canoe camp.
Was it a YMCA camp?
No, but it wasn't unlike a YMCA camp. It's quite similar. Yeah.
So what was the first song you wrote?
The first song I wrote, I think, was called Left Door. And it was a song. So I've been one of these kids who went to lots of open mic nights, and I played a lot of little pubs in town, and I played, 3 sets of cover songs. And I sort of knew enough about playing songs that I decided I wanted to try and write a song. And I think it was about feeling like I was doing something that I've sort of felt like I was picking the wrong direction from some of my family who want me to go to school and stay the course and not be busking on the street downtown and things like that. And so instead of calling it the wrong door that I was walking through, I called it the left door, because there was the right way to do things, and then there was the left way to do things. So it was probably terrible.
So I'm taking you did not record it.
Thankfully, I did not record it.
What was the first song you wrote that you felt like, okay, this is good. This is something I can put out in the world?
Hockey Skates, which was ended up on my first record. It was about, I probably wrote it about 2 years before my first record was even fully recorded or demoed, and long before a manager or an agent or a record company came into the mix. And that song just stuck with me. It's funny. I think it was one of those, some songs I've had to work at and work through, and they take time. And that one, I think, just sort of, I sat down one day in my little apartment when I was 19 or 20, and it just kind of came out. And that was one of my first songs that was lasting.
Great tune. What was the first heartache song you connected with?
I always loved that song, Miss You by Everything But the Girl. That was when I was in high school. That song just got into my core, into my soul. And there was Everything But the Girl had, even though they sort of had a popular version of a lot of their more popular songs, they actually were a pretty folky acoustic, sort of soft, duo. And I always loved the acoustic version of that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they actually have an album called Acoustic, and they do on that album Elvis Costello's Allison.
Oh yeah, that was one of my, yes, I loved that record.
It's such a good album. Yeah,
I
love that album. Who was the first artist you idolized?
I think it was Annie Lennox. I loved Diva. And these are all records that kind of came out around the same time, but I loved that record, Diva, and I just idolized her. I idolized her songs. I idolized her, her sort of persona and her talent and the way she presented all of those things. I just thought she was in my mind, she was just like the biggest thing in the world. Did you go back and listen to her Eurythmics albums? No, I never really connected with those. I always loved Annie Lennox more. I listened to some Eurythmics, and I just always loved Annie Lennox better. But I love Dave Stewart, so no offense to him. I just like them separately better.
What was the name of the first band you played with?
Okay.
This is one of my favorite questions.
Is this a band? I was actually wondering, is this a band that I sat in with as like a musician, or is this a band that I was an actual member of?
Member of.
Okay. My first band same time as like the first song and the first gigs that I played. I was reading Cormac McCarthy, and I was playing music with this guy in town who ended up being my boyfriend and the bass player on Failure. But we started a band, and I called it All the Pretty because I was at the time reading All the Pretty Horses. And so that was the name of my first band. Please kill me now. I've never told anyone this. This is super weird, secrety stuff.
Oh, I love it. This is like an exclusive. Fantastic. What record are you listening to now that you really love?
I'm going to pick two. I love Bonnie Light Horseman, which is this trio of three different people, one of whom is Anais Mitchell, who is an extraordinary musician and songwriter. And she's just had an incredible few years and is the sort of brains behind Hadestown, which has done very well on Broadway recently. So Bonnie Light Horseman, incredible record. And then I love this Irish singer that my manager got me onto named Mick Flannery. And he has an extraordinary new record. And his stuff is incredible. I was blown away. So those are my two picks right now.
What's the most recent song you've learned to play?
Oh, I recently learned how to play Comes a Time by Neil Young, which isn't like, which is just, it was about maybe June. And I was walking a lot in the woods with my dogs, and it was kind of at the height of everyone staying home and no one seeing each other. And I heard it on the radio driving home one day, and I just thought, what a perfect song for this time. Like, it's so amazing how things just stay relevant. And I just loved Comes a Time. I thought it was, comes a time when you're drifting, comes a time when you settle down. This old world keeps spinning around. It's a wonder tall trees ain't laying down. There comes a time. I just thought, oh, what a cool and sort of relevant song today. And it's 40 years old.
Oh, great tune. You mentioned your dogs. What kind of dogs do you have?
I have a very, very sweet Labradoodle named Penny. She's over there. She just had a bath, so she rolled in something lovely. And there's my golden retriever, Fred, also high energy. We just go for a walk, so they're kind of settled in. Penny and Fred.
Penny and Fred, love it. What would be a heartache song that you would go to now?
I really love You Don't Have to Go by War on Drugs.
You've been listening a lot to War on Drugs?
Lots. It's probably been one of the most sort of significant influences of mine in the last 5-6 years, for sure. Yeah.
What do you like about them so much? Or what is it about that you're connecting with, you think?
I love that he's sort of accumulation of all of my favorite sounds and all my favorite influences, like the Dylans and the Springsteens and the Petty are kind of all mashed into his sound. And it's incredibly, almost like a vinyl throwback mishmash. And it's also incredibly refreshingly new sounding. And I really like the atmospheric and sort of soundscape that he creates, this incredible kind of wall of sound. And I also like that lyrically, I find him quite vague. And I like that because it gives you an opportunity to fill in sort of all these holes within your own mind when you're listening to it. You're not being sort of told what the song is about. You're allowed to sort of interpret it in your own moment, which I really like. He gives you room to do that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more question, and that is, what would be a song you would go to that really lifts you up, makes you feel hopeful?
Recently, it was The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight. By r.e.m. I love the Automatic for the People record. It's probably around the same time that I discovered, Annie Lennox. And it's such a mid 90s record for me, which was such a formative time in my life. And the other day I was thinking about playing live. About a month ago, I was dreaming of a live show and what it would feel like and sound like, and what would I play. And I was like, I got to listen to that Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight song. And I put it on and I've listened to it almost every day since. And it makes me feel incredibly exuberant because I have this vision of myself playing a show, and I'm going to throw in that cover, and it's going to feel really fun for everyone who's there because it's such a feel good, call me when you try to wake her, call me when you try to wake her, call me when you wake her. I love that. And I just thought it would be a fun song to play.
Oh, that's great. Well, we'll end on that. And Kathleen, thank you so much for doing this today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was really
Yeah.
good talking to you.
And wishing you all the best through everything that we're going through right now as well. So,
and vice versa. And congratulations on your new election.
oh, well, thank you. We hope that it's over really soon.
Well, good luck with the fraud.
Yes. Yeah, right. All right. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you.